Folks, this is perhaps the worst time in history to buy a Toyota. Toyota dealers are beyond the pale when it comes to additional dealer markups, $5,000, $10,000. We've seen as high as $20,000 in additional dealer markup. It's not the time. Trust me.
Dad, I am confused, man. You would think Toyota, the largest automaker in the world, would want to be able to sell more cars to more people. Unfortunately, here in the United States, we are seeing more and more horror stories from members of the CarEdge community and others just complaining. I mean, and moaning, for lack of a better term, just trying to buy Toyotas. That we've seen Corollas marked up to $40,000. We've seen 4Runners marked up to $75,000. We've seen the Sequoias and the Siennas marked up to no end. That Toyota is, as far as we can tell, purposefully limiting inventory here in the United States, allowing their dealers to tarnish their brand and force customers to choose other automakers to buy from. Honda doesn't have a lot of inventory, but people are turning there. Mazda, Subaru, etc. The reason it's the worst time ever to buy a Toyota seems to be because Toyota has made the decision to withhold inventory here in the United States. And that's making it difficult to get your hands on something at a fair price.
Yes, Toyota as a manufacturer has decided to limit their inventory in this country, and they're selling everything that they're making worldwide. So, when we think of Toyota, we just can't think of them in the United States. We're a big part of their overall picture, but not necessarily the biggest part. And we're not necessarily the part that makes them the most profit. They work on about a 3% profit margin in North America, and their profit margin is 8, 9, 10, 11% in other parts of the world. So yes, they have limited inventory here, and most of it, if not all of it, is pre-sold before it gets to the dealer. The problem for Toyota is their dealers. Their dealers are treating everything like it's gold. And they know that they have a strong demand for a low supply of vehicles. And the first rule of economics is supply and demand. If supply is low and demand is high, then the market is willing to pay extra to get it. And Toyota buyers seem to be. Then a lot of the Toyota dealers are asking for additional dealer markups. If customers said, I'm interested, just not with the additional dealer markup, and enough customers said that, then dealers would stop doing that. But until that happens, these dealers, many of them, not all of them, but many of them, are just going to continue to go down that road where they say to you, hey, either you buy it at this price or the guy behind you will. And as a customer, that's when you have very little leverage.
Pops, you are spot on, and that's why it is the worst time in history to buy one of these Toyotas. Here is an example from one of our community members that the email reads. This was sent in to me, Zach, Z-A-C-H, at CarEdge.com. This is for a Toyota 4Runner down in Florida. MSRP was $54,970. With the distributor add-ons, doc fee, and handling fees, the subtotal was $57,711. Then there was the dealer add-ons and market adjustment of $10,000, bringing the OTD price before tax and title to $70,682. So my first day at the dealership, I spent 3 hours getting the market adjustment removed. It was not that difficult, and the salesman made a big deal out of how big of the deal it was getting it off, and that the deal was only for today, and yada, yada, yada. When I tried to get him to negotiate on the other items, we hit a roadblock, Pops. I threatened to walk out twice, and after 3 hours, I finally did. When I went back 2 days later, the vehicle was still there, and I asked for a different salesperson, and we started from the price less the market adjustment, as I had gotten an email from the dealership saying they were extending the time for the, quote, discount to me. So I spent the next 6 hours negotiating further on the selling price, managed to get them to reduce the dealer installed options price down to $1,500, so almost half. Plus I got them to throw in another accessory, typically a $900 option at no charge. They would not negotiate on the distributor installed options, which kind of makes sense because the distributor already put them on. So my OTD price, including tax, was $64,297. Pops, that was, add it all up, like 9 hours of work, having to leave, having to come back to still pay $10,000 over the manufacturer's suggested retail price. What?
Yeah, that's, If it were me and I were the customer, my time's worth more than that. Okay? I shouldn't have to invest 6 hours or 9 hours at the dealership total trying to get to a number that might work. It should be simpler than that. And dealerships have figured this out a long time ago, that the longer they can drag out the process, the more they can wear the customer out, and eventually the customer gives in. Because the customer is going to say, well, damn, I've got 9 hours invested in this. Either I buy it or I start the process all over again somewhere else. Do I want to go invest another 9 hours? Do I want to have almost a full day of my life committed to negotiating with a car dealer to get a good deal? So as a customer, you get worn out and you just eventually go, yes, I'll take it. I want to put this behind me. As a dealership, they know that the longer you're there, the greater the likelihood is that you're going to end up with the car. Consumers' time at the dealership equals the commitment to end up buying the car.
And I think the spotlight is especially on Toyota for all of this, Dad, because they seemingly have the highest level of brand loyalty, and they also have the lowest amount of inventory. We are hearing stories nationwide of folks having to wait upwards of a year to get their hands on certain vehicles. On-hand inventory, of course, is then being marked up considerably. And there was a moment in time there where markups kind of went away for like a 2 or 3 week period. We weren't seeing a lot of markups on Toyota vehicles, and then it's come back in full force. And I think this is really important because Toyota is the largest manufacturer in the world. They battle out for number one spot in the United States with General Motors, but still, it's the number one automaker in the world. And they are essentially, I don't want to say they're giving their middle finger to the customer, but they're saying, you know what, it's the dealer. Blame it on the dealer. Don't blame it on us. I blame it on Toyota as well, Dad. They are choosing to not bring vehicles that people want to buy to the United States. And they're selling them elsewhere where they can make more money. And that's ultimately leading to this terrible customer experience. And we need to continue to bring awareness to it because people should know before they go. Don't invest the 9 hours. Instead, go buy a Mazda. Instead, go buy a Subaru. Instead, just don't put up with the BS. Don't go spend 9 hours beating your head up against a wall. It's not necessarily worth it.
In today's world, you should never have to invest 9 hours to buy anything.
Seriously, man. All right, Pops. Well, we'll be back with more on this, I'm sure, in the near future. Back at CarEdge.com. Obviously, we can help you try and find a dealer that is not doing this, none of these shenanigans in your area, but we'll see how this plays out over the coming months and years.
Absolutely.